Hi, everybody. What we're going to do today is we're going to take this document created by an AP European history teacher and we're going to make it more Zen. The teacher has already done some great work with creating an assignment where there's some flipped parts of it where the students do some work at home and they come prepared for better class discussions. It's blended, it involves a little bit of traditional instruction and some digital instruction, but where it needs a little help is just in the looks department. And so that's what we're going to work with here. And what's great is after this document was transformed, the teacher noticed that the students were putting more effort in and he was getting better answers from the students when he spent a little bit more time prepping the look of the assignment. So we're going to duplicate some of those things that we did, and maybe you can apply some of those things to your documents and make them more Zen. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go here to the File menu and I'm going to go down to Page Setup. There's a couple things we can do here. First of all, I want to get myself a little bit more space, so I'm just going to bump out the margins a little bit. Let's put them at 3/4 of an inch, but maybe the bottom one, let's do it 1/2 inch. And here's a little used trick. You can change the color of the paper in your Google Doc. And when you change the color of the paper, it starts to really drastically change the look. And it doesn't look so much just like an old worksheet. So I'm going to change mine to be a light yellow. And it's going to take effect. And already it starts to look a little different. So that's kind of a cool thing you can do. You can even start to trick people into thinking that they're on a web page rather than on a Google Doc if you really get into your use of colors. The next thing I want to do is I want to play with this header here. The name of this assignment is The End of the Cold War, 1960 to 1990. I'm going to grab that and get rid of it. I'm going to go here to Insert, go to Header. And a header is that tool where you have the same text appear at the top of every page. And as a teacher, I'm kind of interested in this so that it always has the end of the Cold War at the top of the document. And I could control with some font choices here where that fits. But that's one way to do it. And what's nice is if I scroll down, see there it is at the top of page 2 and so on. But I want to show you a little trick I learned that can make this even better. So I'm going to cut out this font again. And instead here I'm going to go to Table. I'm going to insert a table. And I'm going to put a 1-by-1 table in. Let's get rid of some of this extra space up here. Oh, it's going to require me to have this space here. So let's do this little trick where we just make it as small as possible. And I'm going to paste inside of this table. And the nice thing about tables are you're able to put in some color, and I'm going to pop in a deep red, and I'm going to change the font to be white. I really love having white font on top of a darker color. That didn't work because I wasn't highlighted over the text. And I'm going to pick a different font. How about Brie Serif? I think that looks pretty good. Let's bump the size just a little bit. And now we have color around here, but we can even put color around the edge. And how about we go with a gold color around it, and I want it to have a thicker edge. Okay, that's a better looking header, I think, than the old one has. And it kind of separates out your documents maybe from the rest of the pack. Let's go over, you go to the edge of a table, any table, you can adjust the width of it. And I want to adjust the width of this all the way out to the edge. And the reason I want to do that, I think I got it all the way now, is now it looks like the banner is spreading all the way across. I think it's a good look, and maybe you could start to standardize the look of some of your assignments with a header that's unique to your class. The next thing we're going to tackle here in the main part of the document are the instructions. And the teacher has put some instructions here, and we all know this. No one reads the directions. No one is going to scroll to the top of this document if they don't know what to do and read the instructions. It's just not in our nature. So one of my Zen philosophies is you put the instructions where they need to be. And we don't need a lot of instructions up here at the top. So I'm going to just cut those and get rid of them. and I'm going to put just one, see now up here, just to show you how this works, I'm back up in the header, and I have this big 20 font sized gap between where the header is and the rest of the text. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce that down so it's a little tighter to the document. So I got rid of the instructions that were currently there, and what I'm going to do is just put one instruction up at the top, and it's for the technocrat. The technocrat is the technical leader in a group. This is an assignment that the students did work on pairs in, and this teacher is going to assign this now using Google Classroom. And if you've assigned things via Google Classroom, you know that you can give each student a copy. And what happens is that it gives it a name, and let's say the name of this assignment will be End of the Cold War. It puts a hyphen, and then it puts the student's name. So the technocrat is supposed to share his or her copy with his or her partner, and then add her name, the partner's name, at the end. So when it does get turned back into the teacher can at a glance know what couple was working on this assignment together. The next thing that we're going to work on is a table of contents, and this document is quite long. It's a lengthy assignment because it is involving some class discussion, it's involving out-of-class work, and there's going to be some different time periods I think that the teacher really wants to emphasize with the students. And so they're going to start with 1968, and then there's a section on the 70s and the 80s and so on. So I'm going to write here, table of contents, and let's go ahead and let's kind of pick a style here. Let's go back to that Brie Serif font, and let's go ahead and make it this deep red. Let's make it, how about size 14, and bold it. I kind of like that as a header for this document. What I'm going to do is go up and insert table of contents. Now notice it doesn't look like a whole lot. In fact, it's just giving me instructions so how I can make things automatically appear there. So let's show you how to do that. We're going to go and add some headings down below, and the headings will become links to that section of the document. So the very first one I want to do here is this right here, 1968. There's a big part of the assignment here. So once again, when you start to create documents and you want a different header, you find yourself constantly going up to the top, switching the font, switching the size, bolding it, picking the color, and you're doing a lot of repetitive clicks. So it's time to work smarter, not harder. This is what's called the style selector. I'm going to open it up, and I want to create a heading that matches this text that I used here. So I'm going to go down here, and I want to update heading 1, this title of heading 1, to match this font style choice. If I go back in there, look at that, it's saved. So I can now in the future go down, and let's say my next section here is the 1970s. So I'm going to get rid of some of this extra numbering, highlight over it. It's normal text right now. I don't want it normal. I want it to be a heading. I'm going to go down to 1980s and get rid of once again some of this extra, and I'm going to let the font do the talking that it's a section header for me. And oops, I don't see, look what I was starting to do. I was starting to go and change the font and the size. All I need to do is go here to heading 1. Now, why would I do that? If you go back up here to table of contents and click inside this little box, there's this refresh button. I hit the refresh button. It automatically has gone and found those sections and made hyperlinks to them. So if I'm the teacher in my class, the students open up the document, and I'm going to just tell them, hey, kids, go to the table of contents, click on the 1980s link, and it scrolls us all the way down to the 1980s automatically. That's awesome. Long documents deserve tables of contents. Speaking of tables, I love tables. Tables enable me to put text where I want text to be. It allows me to format specially the documents, and I think it makes my documents stand out from other documents. So we're going to take this section of the teacher's assignment. where very classic, define the 5 W's of these 2 events from Poland during the Cold War. Who, what, why, when, where. And I want the students to answer in a table to kind of neatly organize their responses. And let's create here. We know that there's 5 W's and there's a question. So that is going to be a table that's 6 high, and we're going to make the table 2 wide. So I'm going to go up here to table, insert a table 2 by 6. So I just drag over what size I want, click again, and it makes me a table. So I'm going to be back in 1 second, and I'll have populated some things inside the table to speed things up. So we have now this section, and it's still looking a little rough. We can make this look prettier. So one trick that I really love is when I highlight over these 2 cells, I want the directions to spread across the entire width of the table. So I've highlighted those 2, I go up to table, and I merge the cells. And I want to put some color here, so let's go with a nice dark blue. My dark background and white font is a style that I like, and let's make these directions a little bigger for the students. Define the 5 W's of March events or March 1968 in Poland, and I'm going to get rid of this, and I'll show you why in a second. We're going to get rid of the instruction to answer in 1 or 2 complete sentences, because I'm pretty sure as soon as the students saw that it was March events, they were done reading this and they're already starting to fill it out. So let's get rid of that, and let's format it by centering the text in there. Perfect. Now I'm going to highlight this column, and I want to shade that in a lighter blue. And I don't have to have it that wide, so I'm going to shrink this column down by just hovering over and dragging it across. You know that black text on the light blue box doesn't show up super well, so I'm going to use this trick again. And I'm going to bold it, and let's make it at least, let's go 14 big so it kind of matches. And one last little trick, I'm going to right align it so the answers are right next to this. And here's kind of a reason I like using a shaded background color that's not white, because then what I can do where the students, I expect them to type their answer, I can pop in a white background that kind of makes it pop a little bit, and that's where their answers are supposed to go. Now, we got a little before and after right here. Here's the before and after. The teacher found that students were writing more inside of these boxes than when they were just supposed to type down here. Now, I don't know if you remember that the teacher had instructed the students that when they typed, they were supposed to go up and select red type, and they were supposed to type their answers in red so they popped off the page. That's a lot of work to expect the kids to go up and to select that formatting each time. So here's my suggestion for you. I like typing this in, replace with complete sentences. I like putting the instruction right where this is, and what this enables me to do, if I really, really want the kids to type in red, I can go and I can highlight. I'm going to highlight everything inside of this cell of this table, and I'm going to turn it red, and I can pick the font. I could pick a different font. How about we put this in Cambria, size 12 in red. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it in. And what my students are really used to doing on their assignments is they just highlight over what I've typed, and then they put their answer here. And it's pre-formatted in the color, the font, the size, exactly the way I want it. And when I glance at their document, I can see their answers kind of popping off the page a little easier. Some other things you could do in other disciplines. This is something we say a lot in our history classes. Cite your source, and we can give them a reminder that we want them to put those kind of pieces of information also inside of these boxes. Let's get rid of some extra spaces. Let's get rid of the old one because we've created a much superior thing. And you know what? This is going to be a duplicate down here. And so to work smarter, not harder, instead of recreating all of it, I'm going to copy the whole thing, paste it in, and this time define the 5 W's of, and now we're just going to call it Prague Spring in 1968. And look at that. That looks better than that. That's done. Let's get rid of some space. That's beautiful. I think that's a really good improvement. Now the next phase is we are going to have the students watch a video on YouTube, and then they're going to answer a couple questions. So let's get rid of some of this extra space. And this teacher has already provided a link, which is very nice that when we click on this, it takes us external to YouTube. I'm just going to change this text a little bit, and I'm going to have the text read, please watch this video on the 1968 revolutions. Except I have look at that, I have a typo in there. It's embarrassing. Let's get that fixed. And I want to make this pop a little bit, so I'm going to change the size here. I'm going to center it. And I want to look below here and see what I'm supposed to do. It looks like the teacher wants the students to look for how was 1968 a turning point in modern history, and how was it not a turning point. So I'm already in my head envisioning a table with 2 columns wide. And then there's some other things that are going to happen below here. So let's go in and let's make one more table. And I'm going to create it right here. Let's go table. I know I want it 2 wide. In my head, I kind of have an idea about how I want it to be 4 high. And we can always delete some. Let's be safe and let's go 5 high. And then we can get rid of some of the extra rows if we want to. So I'm going to cut this question. I'm going to put it here in this box. And I am going to cut this out and put it in this box. Oh, this is bugging me. So let's show you a little trick. Let's go ahead and click right at the beginning part of this assignment. Let's insert a page break and force it to go down to the next page. That's better. Let's shorten this up. Shorter instructions are better. How can you define 1968 as a turning point in modern history? How is 1968 not a turning point in modern history? Now, what we're going to do is, since we're talking about something in the affirmative, we're going to put green background. And because this is something in the negative, we're going to use red. You guessed it, same trick. We're going to go up here and change that white. We're going to bump the size because we're trying to make our instructions pop a little bit more, and let's center them. As the students watch this video, we want them to take notes here. So we're giving them that instruction, and I want to pre-format this with a bulleted list. So as they hit return on their keyboard, it's going to provide another place for another note. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to copy it and paste it here. Now sometimes what I like with a style is if I use a dark green in the header, in the rows below that, I like to use the softest green, the lightest green there is. So it kind of connects, this is green with, and it goes with this question. And I want to do the same here, but with a light red. Now I want to merge these two cells. So I'm going to highlight over both of them, go up to Table, Merge, and let's turn them blue and turn the font white. And I want, during and after our class discussion, add the ideas of your classmates. Idea of classmate. Oops, I forgot to put the brackets around it. We'll add those. And we can make those bulleted just like the other ones. And just to complete the look, since it's an idea that's in the affirmative, I'm going to shade that cell, that lightest green, and this one, the lightest red. And it looks like I ended up with one too many columns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up here to Table, and now I can delete this row. That's looking a lot better. The last thing I want to address is the power of images. And I'm looking at this question in the 1980s. What was solidarity in Poland? And so what I want to do is I want to paste in some work that I've already done. And what I did is I did a Google search for the image of solidarity. I remember seeing this logo always associated with that labor union in Poland. And so why not take that image and associate it with the information that the students will write below? And it also provides a nice little pop on the page of something a little more interesting to look at than all the text and the boxes that we've been creating. I want to show you one other thing with images. I'm going to go here to the post-1989 section, and I'm going to turn that into a heading so it automatically does the search. Let's go up and let's trigger this and click inside of the table of contents and make it find it so we can jump down there nice and quick. I created an additional question post-1989, and I found this amazing image online of Ronald Reagan representing Luke Skywalker and Gorby representing Darth Vader. And I really like questions that involve images because it makes the students do more than just look for something online and maybe copy it down. I think it activates higher order thinking with them. And these question stems, I think, are also important. So identify tends to be a very low hurdle verb that students, all they have to do is simply identify this is Reagan and Gorbachev. But when we get to a question like an explain, it requires a little bit of a deeper thought and a little lengthier of a response to draw all of those ideas out of the students. And so looking at the design of this, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tall table by 2 wide, and then all I did was I merged the top two so I had a little bit more room for the image. And I think that that provides a more interesting task because it involves images than perhaps some of these other boxes that we've created here, which are very text heavy. So those are some of the tips that I would like to share with you, and hopefully I've shown you a few things that you didn't know how to do and maybe modeled some of the things that you could do in some of your documents. But we took the before and we turned it into something that looks completely different. And just one last time at this, the teacher found that the students did a lot more work and they worked harder and they put more thought into their answers when the document was just a little bit more zen. Thanks for listening.